Professor Jeffrey Sachs is a renowned economist, a policy analyst, and has held many positions at Columbia University, where he is currently a university professor. He was on the faculty of Harvard prior to that. He has served as special advisor to the UN Security Secretary General, is credited with guiding several countries out of major debt crises over the last 4 decades, and has become in the process one of the nation's most influential scholars on international relations. He has been on System Update several times before. He is, for very good reason, one of our audience's most popular guests, and we are always delighted to talk to him, and we are thrilled that we will do so tonight. Earlier this week, there was this very interesting development where Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, who has kind of become a folk hero to the populist right of the United States and around the world, met with President Xi, and he's done this many times. The relationship between Hungary and China has been growing, it's been solidifying, and Orban talked about how the partnership that they have with China is central to Hungary's future prosperity. We're seeing this in all the regions where the U.S. used to have full dominance, in South America, in Africa, in Asia. What role do you think the kind of resentment toward American foreign policy, this perception that America throws its weight around and starts wars? The last time China started a war or was involved in a war was 1979, 45 years ago. Is that resentment?
And by the way, that was a basically 1 month.
Yeah, a 1 month border dispute, basically. It lasted
little
1 month.
Punishment of Vietnam for its actions in Cambodia.
Exactly. It was a 1 month war. So is this resentment helping China kind of attract and take away partners and allies from the United States? And more broadly, why is China having so much success in getting countries to migrate toward their alliance, toward their axis?
Well, look, basically, China is doing a good job of economic development and technological advance. Over the period from 1980 until today, it's had the most remarkable economic transformation through very high saving, very hard work, unbelievable improvement in educational access and quality. They've just done a tremendously good job. China remains poorer than the United States per capita. It remains poorer than Europe per capita. But the advance has been tremendous. The improvement of the quality of life has been tremendous. And because China is 1.4 billion people compared to the 335 million people in the United States, 4 times larger, the size of the Chinese economy in absolute terms is larger than the U.S. if you measure it at a common set of international prices, what's called purchasing power adjusted prices. China's done a good job. We should be pleased that 1.4 billion people have gotten out of poverty. We should be pleased that China is making available low-cost photovoltaics, electric vehicles, wind turbines at low cost, the things that could make possible the ecological transformation, the energy transformation. Instead, we're in a profoundly neurotic state in the politics in this country's leadership. China must be an enemy because it's large and successful. Basically, what's happening is China is a threat to U.S. hegemony. It really is. It's not a threat to the U.S. It's not a threat to you. It's not a threat to me. It's not a threat to taking over the United States at all. But it is a threat to the claim that the U.S. runs the world. And that is leading to a neurotic reaction. And if you want to see the neurotic reaction, people should look at Foreign Affairs magazine, which is the magazine of the Council on Foreign Relations, the establishment institution. Every issue is, are we still number one? What are we going to do? How do we stay ahead of China? How do we contain China? Everything is about China. Not because China's threatening us, but because China is showing we don't run the world the way we like to think we run the world. So most of the world is not gravitating to China. Most of the world is saying, don't make us choose. Don't make us be on your side. versus China's side, we just want to have life. We want to trade with China. We want to have a perfectly normal relationship. We want them to help us build a fast rail or a new power grid. Why are you telling us that if we do it with China, we become an enemy of the United States? This is where we are so messed up. And when China has this big industrial structure, we now say that's overcapacity. This is a term that didn't even exist before. There's no overcapacity in China. The world needs what China produces. It needs solar modules. It needs wind turbines. It needs electric vehicles. We're in a climate crisis, so we need all that stuff. We should be encouraging this development. We should be encouraging China's making loans and investments in developing countries to help them make their energy transformation. But China is a threat to America's delusion that it runs the world.
So every time you come on, I always think to myself, okay, I want to spend a lot of time talking about China. Obviously, a major part of the U.S.-China, what some people want to be a new Cold War, but this adversarial relationship involves international economics and trade, which is your specialty, one of them, things in which you've worked for a long time. But unfortunately, we always have so many wars that we have to spend so much time talking about that we only get to spend a little time. So hopefully there will be a day in the future, I can't envision it now, but let's be optimistic, when the U.S. doesn't have a bunch of hot wars in which it's heavily involved, and we can talk more in depth about what the relationship with China should be, what's happening with it, because I consider you such an important voice on that question.
By the way, Glenn, we should do it in part because not only is the relationship central right now to war and peace and to the future of the world, China has a really different perception of international statecraft than the U.S. And it's absolutely fascinating to talk about because China really views things differently and in fascinating ways, and very good for a discussion.
Yeah, so then we're going to harass you for a China-only conversation because it's something that I think people in the United States could really benefit from, since all we ever hear is evil China, aggressive China, militaristic China. And I think people can benefit even just from understanding better the Chinese view of the world, since we hear so little about that. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I think it's extremely nutritious and illuminating for our audience. It is for me as well. And I really appreciate your time.
Great to be with you. We'll do it again soon.
Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.